Hi everyone, welcome back to the Bewitching Brain. My name is Kaylin Sabraco, and we are so happy to have you here with us and encourage you to subscribe and share. Take good care, be safe, and help others be safe. We hope you have been enjoying our series helping you make sense of your senses. So far, we have touched on your sense of touch, vibration, pain, and smell. For this week's video, we are discussing a sense highly linked to olfaction, your sense of taste, or gustation. As a recap, olfaction uses what are known as olfactory receptors in your nose's epithelium to collect information about the odorants in the air around you. The connections between your taste and smell is as simple as the connection between your mouth and nasal canals. Stay tuned to see why this is true. Again, where we will begin, as we did for all of our other sensations, is at the sensory receptors. Your taste sensory receptors come in 5 different flavors. These include sweet, salty, bitter, sour, and umami. Each of these taste receptors are found in each of your taste buds across your tongue. Contrary to other thoughts about taste, your taste buds are comprised of all 5 receptors in differing concentrations all across your tongue. This means that you don't have just a sour taste bud or a part of your tongue where you only taste sweet things. Now let's go over a quick breakdown of what makes each of your taste receptors unique, starting with your 2 ionotropic receptors, sour and salty. Ionotropic means that once your receptor is activated, it opens an ion channel that will then send an action potential due to this influx of ions. For your salty receptors, it is easiest to think about this as salt being made up of ions. Table salt, for example, can be identified by its chemical formula NaCl, or sodium chloride. If you remember back from our first series on the nimble neuron, sodium has a very important role in propagating action potentials. This increase in sodium has the power to start an action potential, sending information about the saltiness you are experiencing. For your sour receptors, we need to discuss acids and bases. Acids are any solution that is under a pH of 7, and bases are any solution in the range of 7 to 14 pH. To create an acidic solution, you need a high concentration of hydrogen ions. These hydrogen ions in a sour food, like a lemon, are what activate the ionotropic receptors like sodium for salt sensory receptors. When discussing your other 3 receptors, sweet, bitter, and umami, these become a bit more difficult to conceptualize. These 3 receptors are controlled by metabotropic pathways, similar to your olfactory receptors. Your sweet receptors are actually a dimer pathway, meaning that your sugars you are processing need to activate 2 receptors at once. Something important to note about your bitter receptors is that you have the highest concentration of them, and for good reason too. Substances like poisons often have a bitter taste, so it is like your body's defense system. And last but not least, umami. Umami might not be a word that brings you a specific taste in mind, but it is rooted in savory flavors. This may be due to it being activated by glutamate, which may sound familiar as it is the G in MSG, which is found in high quantities in fast foods, chips, or processed meats. For each of these metabotropic receptors, they get activated the same way as your olfactory receptors do. Once something sweet, bitter, or umami enters your mouth, it will set off a chain of events to continue the signal transduction. Once the action potential is activated by your gustation receptors, this will be passed via a cranial nerve, pass through the thalamus to eventually make it to what is known as the insula, or your primary taste sensory cortex. If you're interested in what cranial nerve might be responsible for this, stay tuned for a later episode of Bewitching Brain, where we will plan to take a deep dive in all of your 12 cranial nerves. Where your sense of smell and taste collide comes in what is called retronasal olfaction. Without your sense of smell, you would only be able to taste those 5 tastes in differing degrees based on the number of each receptor activated. By combining the information being received in your nasal and mouth canals, you are able to use your millions of different olfaction receptors to determine what you are actually tasting. This combination allows you to experience flavors. That's when little kids don't want to take their medicine or eat their vegetables. Telling them to plug their nose might actually be helpful in decreasing the taste they're experiencing. Tune back in next week for an overview of a sense that's a bit different from the previous ones we discussed, your sense of hearing. Thanks for listening, Brainiacs. We hope you enjoyed this installment about taste and hope to see you back again soon.